Why do I reflect on the full history of the cases of Mr. Stuart Scharnick? Because of a statement he made that his reputation and his image is being tarnished. I think we have to reflect on this number of cases, and you look at the cases, both from the vehicle crime cases, and you look at the other cases that involves some form of aggression in terms of allegations against him. So when he says his reputation is being violated, then when I look at this history that I've provided, I'm trying to ask myself, what is factual here about your reputation? How will the South African Police Services be back-footed on what we know about you and the history that you provide us through your interaction with the criminal justice system? During the process of profiling Mr. Scharnick, we had to understand there's a number of things that comes up that makes us ask some questions. One of them is this issue of him having a criminal conviction where he says that he's cleared of that. He doesn't have a criminal record. When we look at the criminal record system, I'm unfortunately yet to tell you that during the month of January this year, we went into the system to do an audit of this part of his information. In our course of doing this preliminary investigation, on the 16th of January, at 16:58 in the afternoon of that day, a particular employee of the South African Police Services went into the criminal record system and made some adjustments to the benefit of Mr. Stuart Scharnick. That's why Mr. Scharnick is so confident to say there'll be nothing on the system. Unfortunately, the particular employee didn't understand the full extent of auditing side of the back end of systems. And on the back end of systems, the transactions which he deleted reflects and remains on the back end of the system. Further, we would want to indicate there was some indication that you can apply for an expansion of a conviction, and such expansion, then you get an approval and it then can be taken off the system, which is correct. You can. But there are certain provisions and conditions in certain offenses, and the fine cannot exceed a certain amount of money. In his case, it was 150,000 rand as a fine. The threshold was 20,000 rand. So there's no way one would suggest that he could have obtained an expansion of these offenses from his criminal record. So those are still there on the back end of the system, which we have discovered. And I want to indicate that the entire forensic side of the system investigation will now be continuing to bring that evidence forward and to hold that employee accountable. But when you look at the timelines, it suggests to us that there was something that was done to the preference of this individual, Mr. Stuart Scharnick. We also pick up, there's this to and fro about whether he's a security officer and whether he's not. That part we can confirm that he is not registered as a security officer. Then you ask yourself certain questions about his profile, and when we then start to look at his profile, we pick up Mr. Scharnick owns firearms. In specific, he owns 5 firearms. We ask ourselves a question: how will a person with convictions acquire a firearm license? So when we unpack the system of these 5 firearms, in the 4th application, still at Richards Bay, that was made in 2022, he made a 4th application. In that application, it seems that he was, after making the application, we have not gotten the fact on where his movement was, but at the time of that approval, the application is still at Richards Bay for this competency certificate, but his approval is now given to him, and the address on his approval is now showing a address in Gauteng. So that was the competency certificate for the training part. The second part we then discovered is then when you have that certificate, you then have to apply for a license. In that license process of application, his license, his first application of the license he made, which was made in 2023 in February, was approved in July 2023. And that application that he had approved was just for a .338 firearm. The second application he then made in 2023 was refused. Now, you'll work out the reasoning whether it's valid. It says here he was refused on this application where he applied for a handgun because he did not have the prescribed reason to possess as a dedicated person. The third application he made it for a handgun again, which was made in May. And that he got an approval in August of 2023, the same year. And then he made a 4th application where he applied for another rifle, which was then approved in August 2023. And then the 5th application he made for again another rifle, which was made in 2023 on the 5th month and approved on the 8th month. The 6th application he made was in 2023 on the 5th month also, and approved also in the 8th month, was for a shotgun. Now, all these firearms that he applied for, you have to provide reasons. According to our records on the application and the system that it was granted for, it is citing that he applied for these firearms for the purpose of sporting. I'm sure by now you would have seen already that is circulating in the media. There is a clip of Mr. Stuart Scharnick in public brandishing a rifle, and the posture and the demeanor suggests that he's a security person in some sort. So one would then realize that sporting is different from being a security company. There are different provisions, rules that govern it. You have to be registered with PASIRA. You must have a number of compliance issues as a business, your business premises and all that. We are yet to get into that part of the investigation, members of the media, that we are, like I say, this was systems and what we see physically in the dockets here on the case. When it comes to these, we are still going to be looking in the file. What is contained in his motivations? How did he acquire these permits? How did he acquire these licenses with this conviction that he had on him?